Everyone, and welcome to our very first PIN webinar. I'm Adriane, a customer success lead here at PIN, and today we are talking about search, specifically how to build a search that actually works, not one that gives you 3,000 candidates and most of them fill off. A search that gives you a high quality, relevant list that you actually want to work with. I want to start with one idea that runs through everything we are covering today. PIN, armed with a great brief, is extremely powerful. The richer the context you give it, the better the results you'll get back. So we are going to go through 3 simple steps that will change how PIN performs for you today. None of them are technical, but they do require you to slow down at the start. And often, most people skip them. By the end of today, you will know exactly what a strong search looks like and why. So let's get into it. Let me describe something that we see all the time here at PIN. You have a recruiter that opens a sourcing platform, pastes in a job title, adds a few skills, hits search. Then the results come back and they look at the list and they think, this is not what I'm looking for. So what do? You delete more. At some point, the search has basically collapsed. This pattern is the number one reason recruiters end up with a list that does not match what they had in their head. It's actually not a platform problem, it's an input problem, and it happens everywhere. Once you master one thing, PIN delivers big. And that one thing is, AI is only as good as what you tell it. So the more descriptive you are, the better our models perform. Most sourcing tools out there match words. You type a skill and the platform tries to find that exact word on a resume. That's it. PIN, on the other side, is widely different. We actually read context. We understand career trajectories, we understand company stages, what a role actually involves. So instead of looking at 2-3 keywords as filters, we create an entire view of your ideal candidate profile and use it as a point system. This system can often be 50 to 100 points so that we can be extremely specific. Our models need something real to work with. And most of the time, what we give it is something that looks like this. So looking at this new slide, what you're seeing here is 2 variations of the same search. So most of the time we see recruiters entering a brief that looks like, hey, I'm looking for an account executive, location New York, and for skills they have maybe sales, CRM, communication. There is nothing about the company stage. There is nothing about the deal complexity. There's no sense of what great looks like. It's mainly 3 bullet points that could describe literally 50,000 different people. So when the brief is generic, the result will also be very generic. So this is the gap that we're trying to close today. It's not about clicking the right buttons. It's about telling PIN what you actually want. Most platforms suggest, for example, a graphic designer for a data analyst role just because the word analysis appeared once on their resume. This is actually word matching. This is not intelligence. PIN reads meaning, but the meaning actually starts with you. So let's talk about our step 1, giving PIN real context and building a brief that actually means something. The first step is what you put in when you create your job in PIN, specifically a role job description and your actual intake notes. I'm actually talking about what you know, what the hiring manager told you during the intake call, who they passed on last time and why. Think about that last call. If you remember correctly, you walked away with a clear picture of who you were looking for. That context right now lives in your head and PIN needs it. So quick tip before we go further, if you do not have a job description, or if you have one that is too generic, please do not start there. Usually I recommend using ChatGPT, it could be Claude or Gemini, to rewrite it into something very detailed and specific. You can paste in as well your intake notes, your requirements, your role context, and ask it to generate a richer version. It usually takes 5 minutes or so, but it makes a significant difference. So let me show you this in practice by sharing my actual PIN account, and we're going to look at 2 different briefs for the same role. Okay, so let me show you in practice what this looks like. So I'm currently looking at my own pin account. I'm going to create like a version 1 of a very generic brief and a version 2 of a better brief. So right now we're working on the account executive version 1. And most of the time we see people writing, for example, I'm looking for an account executive. Let's say location would be maybe New York. Skills we're going to add, as I mentioned, sorry, we're going to do sales, CRM, communication, something basic like that. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to use hiring for, I'm going to use our pin account, and we're going to go through this. And then you click on continue, and we're going to go through the job creation process together and looking at those titles. They're fine. Click here. New York is good. People don't even add the question. And then they just go straight to the results. So that's for our search number 1. Now let's work on search number 2 and use a different brief. So for search number 2, I'm going to open another one, account executive V2. But what I have here is an actual very detailed job description that I created using, I think maybe ChatGPT or Claude, I can't remember. But it's very detailed. It's telling Pin exactly what I'm looking for, the must-haves, all the requirements, everything in here. So what I'll do, I'll actually select everything from that job description and use this here. So entering my entire JD in this right here, paste. Perfect. Okay, cool. So now we have a very thorough JD. We can also use the intake notes if we wanted to, but let's start with this just to see the differences. And then I click on continue. Oh, forgot the company here. Then continue. So same thing here. We're going to do a regular. We're going to go with all those jobs. New York. Now you see Pin is able to actually pick up some skills from that job description because we entered a lot more information. So I'm just going to put everything important but selling to finance or HR. Continue. And Pin also created 2 questions because I fed enough information for it to generate those questions. So I'm going to click on source candidates. And now we're going to go over the results together. So now let's look at the results. For our search number 1, we're looking at the sales account executive. If you expand the little menu at the top towards the 6 criteria, you can see that there is nothing in here. It's a very stripped down version of the search. There's not a lot of like criteria. It's a large pool, but it's also not very targeted. You have people working in a lot of various industry. It's, for example, media. And if we scroll down, going to have people in AI. So it's a little bit all over the place. I'm not saying those candidates might not be relevant, but they're definitely not highly targeted. Now, if we're looking at our second search, which is here, or V2, you have way less candidates. But what you can see here, if you open that pop-up at the top, you have a lot more criteria that will help Pin match qualified candidates to that job. So here you see also the difference is you have the AI generated summary as for the other one, but now you have the answers to your questions. So you can even sort through this entire list more quickly because Pin is able to read context and answer complex questions on your behalf. So it's the same platform. The only difference here is the brief. With a version B of our brief, we have a lot more information about the role. We're asking for a mid-market account executive. Series B, SaaS, deal size anywhere between 50K to 150K. The stage, we want someone that's sold into mid-market, not large enterprise. Skills, so we're giving Pin a lot of information to work with, a lot of context. And the result to this is a tighter pool. Every candidate is actually worth reviewing. Whereas with the first search that we have here, you have a really large pool, you have a lot of mixed signals, a lot of noise. And one last thing I want to show you on this page, when you expand the little drop-down menu, so if we go back to our V2 version, you have the ability to make something required. And the required option is when you click on a criteria, you have that little required pin that you can turn on, and you make this criteria a hard requirement. So when you mark something as required, pin becomes very restrictive. It only looks for exact word or phrase. So someone might have every relevant skill and none of those exact words on their profile, so they will get excluded. You want to use required only for things that are truly non-negotiable, a specific license, for example, or hard location constraint. Preferred is where usually pin gets smart. So you still keep a wide pool, but you have a sharp ranking. This is usually the combination you want. So a couple things that I recommend including in your brief. Tell us what you want versus what you don't want. And what you want could be describing the person, not the actual resume. Share your intake notes. What did the hiring manager say? What type of profile excited them? Like, that type of information is relevant. Tell us about the company and industry context. Tell us the non-negotiable. If possible, try to list them. Only mark them required if they are truly hard requirements. Otherwise, anything else should be set to preferred. And if you have an ideal candidate profile, like a LinkedIn URL of someone who fits, you can definitely add that URL in that section where it says criteria option, ideal profile, and you can paste the LinkedIn URL. Pin will use this URL as a reference point. So now let's talk about step 2, the feature that most people walk past. It's called AI evaluation, and it's part of our job creation process. When you're actually creating a job in Pin, there is a section for that AI evaluation question. Most people scroll past it. This is actually a big mistake. This is where Pin moves from being a sourcing platform into something closer to a research analyst. Pin automatically generates 2 to 3 questions for your role. They are yes or no style questions, and Pin answers them for every single candidate in your pool, based on reading their actual full career history. Just to show you quickly, so here you see at the top, the AI evaluation questions are the questions Pin automatically generated during the job creation process that we went through together. So this is based on the role context. You can keep them, you can edit them, or add your own. And the key is knowing when to use this feature and when not to. Use them for things that would take a long time to figure out manually from a profile. Insights that do not live in a standard filter field, such as deal complexity, and do not use them for basic criteria you can already handle through a filter, such as the location or years of experience. Let me give you an example. We do have 2 here on the screen, but for the account executive role, a weak question could be, has this person done sales? This is way too generic. Pin can definitely infer that just from the job title. A strong question on the other end would be, has this person carried a quota of, I don't know, over $1 million in a mid-market B2B environment, something like that. That is usually something that would take minutes to verify on a profile. Pin answers it instantly across every candidate in your pool. Another strong one, for example, has this person worked at a company during a high growth phase, specifically between Series A and Series C. That is the kind of career context that matters enormously for this role and is completely invisible in a standard filter. So the way it works, you have those questions always at the top of a profile, and Pin will evaluate every candidate in your pool against each question using their full profile and career history. The strong matches on your question rise to the top of the list, and the candidates, as I mentioned before, who score lower on your questions stay in the pool, but they rank lower. You are sharpening the shortlist, you are not shrinking your pool. Think of it as asking Pin, which of these candidates is the most likely the right person for this role based on what actually matters. So now that we went over step 1, which is the brief, step 2, AI evaluation questions, let's talk about our last step, which is the feedback loop. This is where Pin gets sharper over time. So that third step is how you interact with your results. I hear this sometimes. I've declined a bunch of candidates and Pin keeps showing me the same type of person. Why is it not updating? And when I actually look at the searches, the answer is almost always the same. They declined without giving a reason. So every accept or decline in Pin is a signal, either a positive one or a negative one. But what Pin learns from that signal depends entirely on what you tell it. If you decline with no reason, Pin does not know if that person was either too senior, if it was the wrong industry, if it was not a relevant stage experience, or what have you. It just guesses. If you decline with a reason, like it's too senior, it's only enterprise experience, Pin actually knows exactly what to stop surfacing. It immediately starts bringing up more of the people who match what you have accepted. So the way to use the feedback loop is by actually using the little buttons at the top of a profile. So outreach shortlist will give Pin a positive signal. And if you don't like someone for whatever reason, you click on decline, and ideally here, you use the little drop down and you tell us why. After 8 to 10 signals, Pin will proactively offer to rerun your search with your preferences built in. Think of it like training someone new on your team. The more specific your feedback, the faster they learn exactly what you're looking for. Pin is AI. It learns. It's not going to be perfect on run one, but what it's doing is building a model of your definition of great, and it gets sharper the more you engage with it. So we hear from customers consistently that usually after a few weeks of active use on the platform, their searches feel completely different. The top candidates are more consistently what they are looking for. We have someone that described it really well. He said that you can talk to Pin like it's a recruiter on your team and it just goes hunting. So this is exactly the type of relationship we want you to have with it. So let me bring this back to where we started. Pin is a powerful sourcing platform, but its power is unlocked by what you put into it, the brief you give it, the questions you ask it, and the signals you feed it over time. So remember, 3 things that can actually change your search results. First, we want a detailed contextual brief, like a job description, intake notes, company stage, ideal profile. Give Pin something real to work with. Don't worry about the length and don't worry about the formatting. It doesn't matter. Second, think about AI evaluation questions during the job creation. Ask Pin the things that define great for this role. Let it surface the harder to find signals. Most of the time, we will write those questions for you, but feel free to add yours if needed. And finally, the feedback loop. Accept and decline with reasons. The more specific you are, the smarter Pin gets. So none of this is hopefully too complicated. It just requires you to do the upstream work before you hit search. Take the time to build the right brief, and the sourcing takes care of itself. The recording stops here, but I'll be live in the chat right now. Drop your questions, the roles you're working on, anything that came up while watching, and I will go through as much as I can for the time we have left on this webinar. Thank you so much for being here. This is our first webinar. Let us know what you want to see next, but appreciate your time and I'll talk to you shortly. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'll be live. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I'll try to answer as many as I can right now. And if you have specific questions actually for your use cases, what I recommend doing is you can email us at help@pin.com and we'll try to answer as quickly as possible. So I'll keep an eye on the chat for the next like 5-10 minutes. So feel free to ask anything. I see some questions coming in. So let me have a look and I'll answer to you directly. Thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate it. Okay, so I'll go live now because I have a question from Caroline. Caroline is asking, how do you find candidates from a certain firm? So this is actually a great question, and that's something we can do on Pin. You can have a target list of companies, and we can help you use this as a criteria. So let me try to pull up my account, and I'll show you what I have. So hopefully I can share my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me share. Hopefully you're gonna see this. So now I'm sharing my PIN account. Hopefully you can see it. But from here, for everyone on that call, but especially for you, Caroline, if you have a list of either a company or a list of companies you want to target, you would select that job. Obviously, make sure you have the right job. You open the little pop-up window at the top where it says criteria. And from here, what I recommend doing, you can go through criteria option here. You can type in company and you can use our company filter here. One thing, if you want to do one by one, you can click on add company. And from here, for example, you can type in the company you're looking for. Let's pretend it's Google right here. Here, when you have the company entered, what I recommend doing if you want to target that specific company is you click on the criteria and you make it required at the top. You can also be extremely granular by saying, I want to only look at people that are currently working at Google, people that worked there in the past or at any point in time. So depending on your preferences, that's how you can do it. Now, right now, I showed you how to do it just for one company, but you can do it for multiple companies if you have a target list. And the way to do this, when you click on add new, you can either obviously add a couple of companies one by one, but what I recommend doing is uploading a CSV directly into PIN. So for example, I'm just going to use a preset that I have already here. And when you create that list, same thing here, you have all the companies showing for that list specifically, and you make that list altogether required. That's one great thing with PIN is that you can create presets of those companies and you can reuse the preset across all of your jobs. So hopefully that answer your question, Caroline. I think Doug, you had the same question, so hopefully that answers that question too. And I'm seeing a question from John saying, would it be useful to add selling into a specific account, major bank, Capital One's, Wells Fargo? No, this is actually a really good question, John, and that's something I would recommend doing. The more specific you are, the better the output will be. Remember, this is AI. PIN is really smart, but we need context. We actually need to know that. So definitely use this as your AI evaluation question, 100%. Perfect. So I'm just looking. I don't see any additional questions. Caroline, you have a question around Loxo, which is very specific to your account. I'll probably follow up with you directly on this. So let me just take this offline for you specifically. When you give, and I have a question from Val based on the same company filter. Val is asking, when you give a list of companies as required, will it read it as one of is required? Yes, correct. So from that list, right now we have 7. What we're targeting is we want our candidates to work at not all of them, obviously, that would be too restrictive, but either Trimble or Garmin or IonQ, whatever. So it's like an or statement, correct? And Brian is asking how to create a CSV company list. What info is needed? I'll show you. Let me just click on Add New, Upload CSV Profile. We do have a template that you can use right here. So very simple. What we ask you is LinkedIn URL and the website. Website and domain are the same thing, so pick either. It doesn't matter. If you do not have this information, honestly, use ChatGPT, Claude. They can automatically generate that CSV on your behalf. And once you have the CSV, you come here and you just upload it from here. So that was for you, Brian. So hopefully that's answering your question. Val, you have another question about construction sector. So remember, PIN, we have our own database, so we might not have everything in our database. If you do not find that company here, by just typing, for example, Google, sometimes trying to input the entire company URL, their entire website, that can help. If you're having issues with that, Val, you can also email us directly and we can look at your list specifically. I'm seeing a couple more questions, so I'll try to address them all. Caroline is asking if we're going to do a session on best practices for setting up outreach. It's coming up right now. This was our first webinar. We're starting with like the one-on-one about around search, but we will do more session. We will be doing more structured webinar, sorry, and also live session. It's coming up, so stay tuned. We'll definitely send you more information when this is available to you all. And I have another question from Johnny asking, where do we get the CSV template from? So this is, did I answer this one or is it a similar one? So Johnny, just in case, when you actually go to the company section, when you click on upload company CSV, it says download our sample CSV file. So if you click here, it should bring you to our template that you can use and copy. And I think that's pretty much it from here. I'm not seeing any other questions. So I think we should be good. And as I mentioned, if you have specific questions for your search, feel free to email help@pin.com and we will help you. Well, thank you everyone for attending this webinar. Hopefully you learned a thing or two. We will follow up, I think, by the end of this week with the webinar recording. And yes, Michael, great timing. Yes, we're going to be sending that recording to you all, and stay tuned for our other webinars. Well, thank you so much and have a good rest of your day then. Bye-bye.